you got a package of yarn that you didn't order, like, wouldn't you return it? How did they just happen to misdeliver it to somebody else who knits or crochets? I don't know. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hilo Stitch podcast. I am your host, Kristen, and I'm here to talk to you about what else? Knitting, and all things knitting and yarn related, and sometimes not so related. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kristen Janik. I'm a mostly retired knitting pattern designer, yarn collector, all-around knitting enthusiast, podcasting to you from the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. When I'm not knitting, you might find me doing yoga, watching baseball, drinking wine, but it's mostly about the knitting, so let's go ahead and start talking about it. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off with an actual finished object. Fresh off the needles, I have finally finished these socks. I have been working on these since the fall. I battle a lot of second sock syndrome, so you can see there are actually two of them. So this is just a plain vanilla sock using a half handkerchief heel, work from the toe up. That is my usual way to go when I'm working with a self-striping yarn. I don't really feel like it needs a lot more than that. Although perhaps I would maintain my interest if it were a little bit more than stockinette, but that's neither here nor there. Also, last time I went to the hairdresser, I had her cut curtain bangs, and I cannot get them to style the same way on both sides. It's annoying me. It's a different story. Anyway, so this self-striping yarn is from Nomadic Yarns. This colorway is Evermore. And the yarn is her Brit sock base, which is an 80/20 BFL nylon. So I really like BFL for socks. It's not as soft, but it is a little bit more durable. I haven't blocked these yet. To be honest, I also have not woven in the piece of thread that is at the toe either, but I did weave in the end at the cuff so that they would look nice and done. You can see that they don't match 100%. I started them both with orange, but one, I may have done the shaping a little bit differently on the toes, which is to say, when I am doing a toe-up sock, I cast on 16 stitches and then I increase every round for a few rounds, and then I start alternating increase rounds with plain rounds. And I may have not done exactly the same number of plain rounds, of all increased rounds first. Oh well, it doesn't really bother me that they're not exactly matched. The other thing is that I knit the foot a little bit too long on this sock, which is something that is always a challenge for me. I feel like I try it on, and then I reach the point where I think, okay, here's where I'm gonna start my heel, and then I work the heel, and then they're too long. So in this one, I made sure I started the heel before I thought it was really time. It seemed like it was too short, because really, I mean, you're starting the heel right here. And between when you start the heel and end the toe, I always think that there's going to be more longer than it actually is. It's really just a few inches. So I did fix that, but the result between the differences apparently in the toes and that knitting the foot shorter on this one, you can see the striping sequence is not exactly the same. So like I said, that doesn't really bother me at all. Nobody's going to be counting the stripes on my socks. I'm not going to be counting the stripes on my socks. It is what it is, but they are finally done and I am very happy with them. So these are some sock blockers that I ordered on Etsy a couple of years ago, which are really nice in theory. You can take the toe off and change the size. But to be honest, as nice as they look, they're a little rough. which I could sand around the outside, but I can't really do much on the inside. I guess it's laser cut, and they do snag the socks a little bit. So I have to be really careful using them. But in theory, they're a really nice idea because you can change them to knit to block out different size socks. And they have my name on them. All right, so here, as I said, this is a plain toe-up sock. I use half handkerchief heel. I do a 1x1 rib on the cuff. I think a 2x2 rib looks nicer, but I also don't think it holds up as well. It gets overstretched really easily. So even though I don't like as much the way the 1x1 rib looks, I do think in terms of practicality, it works better than a 2x2 rib. Something I haven't done in the past because it just seems like too much effort. I could probably go down a needle size on the cuffs if I wanted to do a 2x2 rib. But the other nice thing about the 1x1 rib is that I can do the Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which I also think looks really nice here. And you can see these are nice and stretchy, and I shouldn't have any problems getting them on my feet. So I have really, really needed some socks, and I'm excited to have finally a pair done. And I've already got the sock yarn caked up for another pair of socks. Like I said, I really need some socks. But this is from Knitterly Things Vesper sock yarn, the Sunflowers colorway, which is really super, super 70s. And I love that. But just looking at the actual yarn, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It seems, I don't remember what it is. I want to say it's an 80-20 or a 75-25 merino nylon, but it seems really thin and not very tightly plied. I guess you can't really see if you can kind of, let's see if it'll focus in. It's hard to tell. So the ply looks not super tight. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna make the socks anyway, but I am a little concerned that I can't remember if I've used her yarn in the past. She does not have, so Pneumatic Yarns, the one I just used, she's got a lot of different bases. I want to say she's got like 6 or 8 different sock yarn bases, and so when she does a dye to order, you can pick the kind of base you like. I don't think that the Vesper sock yarn has so many bases available, but I do love the colorway. But hopefully I will make some quick progress. Probably will just do another pair of plain toe-up socks. I did see somewhere on Instagram recently something that looked really cute for self-striping yarn, which was kind of incorporating what's called a dip stitch, and it looked nice. I might try to look for that pattern. I could probably just wing it, but I'd like to not have to put a lot of thought into it because they're socks. So that is balled up and ready to go, so I can right away start a new pair of socks and add to my collection. So I don't know what has happened. A lot of my socks have worn out. I tend to get holes in the ball of the foot, and I try to, and on the big toe, and I try to, darn them, but my experience is that once it starts, it doesn't seem to stop. So a lot of my socks are out of commission. I've only got a couple of pairs. Absolutely need to start adding to that sock collection. So I'm gonna try to hold myself to really getting moving on the second pair right away. That is the only thing I have finished. I have made some progress on some other projects, a little. So a big thing that I've been focusing on is this. This is my Isle Pullover. And I have split the body and the sleeves, and I'm working on the body now. Come on, cooperate. There we go. So you can see it has a nice high neckline. You could fold over if you wanted. This nice rib detail all along the raglan lines, and that's gonna go, go down the sleeves as well. And then it is also going down the side of the body here. Fortunately, I just am at the end of the ball of yarn, so it's somewhat easy to show this off. This, let's take a look here. This does have short rows shaping, a little bit of short row shaping. So this is the front. So it's identical, just the front drops down a little bit, so you don't end up with like the neckline like way up here. And I have been very happy with this so far. It is nice and soft. I am using the And Make Aran from the Fiber Company. And this colorway is called Soft Love, which was not actually the color I wanted. I wanted something that was just a little bit paler, but when I ordered it, they didn't have enough of that. So this is a blend of Peruvian Highland wool and alpaca. Does it say what the percentage is? Yeah, so it's 50-50, which 50-50 is okay, assuming you don't need tons and tons and tons of structure from your sweater. This is, you know, a loose fit, and it's, you know, nothing, there's no cables or anything here. So it's working well for this. If it were something that I wanted a little bit more structure, it might be a little bit too drapey, but I think it's working nicely for this. And it has, if you can see, a little bit of a halo on the yarn as well, which looks lovely and cozy. It is now, for as long as January took, February seems to be flying by. So it is now almost the end of February. Now, technically, spring starts in March. Spring is like a crapshoot here now. Like, it could be warm, it could be cold. It will probably swing wildly between the two. So I may still get some wear out of this in the spring if I can get it finished up. So obviously most of the stuff going on here is in the yoke, and that part is done. So just have to focus on working the body. I guess, you know, I've got a good 2.5 inches for the body already done. And I really wanted to get the socks done so I could say I had a finished object for this particular episode of the podcast. So I really have been focusing on them. Now I can turn a little bit more attention to this, I hope, and maybe make some good progress. And this is going to be so nice. I mean, obviously it'll be fine again in the fall and winter too, but it would be nice to actually get a sweater done. So those have been my two main things that I have been working on. I don't even remember what this looked like the last time I showed you guys, but it has not, I have not. Baby bear suit. It has one leg now. So I saw my nephew a couple weeks ago at I don't know what the hell's going on downstairs, my son's birthday party. I think he's gonna fit into it, but I had some doubts. I was second guessing myself. And then, you know, in very rational fashion, I was like, well, I better just stop, you know, instead of being like, I should really finish it up so I can make sure it's gonna fit him. So I decided that I'm not gonna put footies on the bottom. That way, you know, he can continue to wear it. I could add to it if, you know, he gets taller but not wider. So I've decided against that. And I think the legs are almost long because they're gonna have a cuff, you know, like just a ribbed cuff at the bottom. So that should allow for a little bit more use out of it, but I don't know, it's looking a little it's looking a little narrow to me. I mean, it still needs a button band, but I mean, not that he's like a huge baby or anything, but I am trying to sort of improvise between a 6-month and a 12-month size. So I don't know, I've had some moments of doubts. I really should just finish it up and get it sent to him. And then, you know, probably my brother and sister-in-law will just be like, oh, thank you, whether it fits or not. It's not like they're gonna be like, you're terrible, this doesn't fit him, what is wrong with you? They're just gonna be polite even if it doesn't fit. I think it will. I mean, just, you know, it still needs to be blocked. I'm having my doubts. So if you haven't, can I help you in some way, sir? Thank you. Finnegan likes some attention. If you haven't seen previous episodes, I'm kind of mashing up two patterns, which are two separate baby bear suit patterns from Hip Knits and then Knitting for Olive. And not only that, but I'm kind of improvising the size because neither one included a 9-month size. So, I don't know. I should just finish it. I should just finish it up and get it out of my life, and then I don't have to worry about it. Maybe by the next time. So I really haven't made much progress on that, although I did add a little bit to the leg, and I do think it's going to grow a bit when it's blocked. So this is the yarn I'm using. It's 70 merino, 20 baby alpaca, and 10% silk. So the silk and the alpaca are going to grow. It's so nice and soft. So this is from, this is Valley Yarns Northfield, and I haven't used this before. I will say it's not super tightly plied, so I'm not sure how durable it is, but it is really nice and soft. So it is going to grow when I block it as well. Just, I need to get moving on that. I really do. That, I think, are all of the projects I have been working on. A lot of my time for the last couple of weeks went into attempting and failing to make my flapper dress. So I did a whole separate vlog on that. I will link to it. I switched the camera around, so I think it's here now. And you can watch that if you want to see what happened to this monstrosity. But that was getting a lot of my attention for the last couple of weeks. Plus, I've been working in a new job that has, since it's new and I'm just getting into it, it's taking a little bit of time. So I haven't had as much knitting time. But those are all of, I think, my whips and my one finished object. All right, I do have a little bit to share about design work. So the first is that a pattern I published with Knit Picks 2 years ago is now available directly from me as an independent pattern. And as part of that, I have been redoing my pattern layout, making it a little bit more modern and up to date. So first, let me show you a photo of the garment. This is the Casera Tee. This is a saddle shoulder casual t-shirt kicked up a notch design. So we start by knitting the saddles, which are the big thing. They've got lace and bobbles. They're gonna to be like sort of the standout. The rest of it is kind of a basic tee from there on. It has a split curved hem, has some short row shaping to shape the neck and to shape the hem. And it is worked in their woolen cotton, which is a DK weight yarn. This is the great thing about when you design for Knit Picks. They make the sample. All you have to do is provide the pattern. So I started my sample in order to create the pattern, but I never finished it because I got wrapped up in other things. I really want to have this t-shirt though. I think it is really cute. I think it's, nice, casual, easy to throw on. You could layer it as well. It has kind of a wide neck and wide armhole, so you can fit something under it. You can put something over it. So I think it's really versatile, and I would actually like to own it, but I do not. So maybe I will get around to making myself one of these days. But as I said, this is now available directly from me, so you can still purchase it with Knit Picks if you happen to be over there. But if you like things to be in your Ravelry library, for example, you can purchase this directly from my shop. And I'm going to pop a photo in here of my new pattern layout that I just, for fun wanted to bring up to date. I'm not going to go into my back catalog and redo all of my patterns. That would take forever. And there's really no reason to do it. So there's no major changes here to, what you're getting. The content is the same, but I think it's organized a little better. The design is a little bit more modern. So it's just a little bit more colorful. I think it works better. In the olden days, you printed out a lot of patterns, and now people are reading them on, readers and in PDFs on their computer, on their tablets and things. I think it works better as a non-printed pattern. I think it's going to scroll better, and it's going to be, it's going to be more obvious where there are links, and it's just going to be a little bit more dynamic and easy to use in a digital format than my old format. So if you are interested, I have links in the description box down below, so you can check out that pattern. Like I said, it's a casual t-shirt pattern. It includes 10 sizes, and the lace and bobbles are the big thing. That pattern is both charted and written. Other than that, it's a lot of stockinette. So you got, sort of some interesting construction at the beginning, and then some nice mindless knitting to finish it out, and it would be really nice for spring. So check that out in the description box below. The other thing I've been working on is this. So this is the, what are we calling them now? Neck warmer? Is that what we're calling them? We're not calling them dickies. I don't know. That I started a while back. So basically I am designing this to be a collar that, you know, was going to be fit nice and close at the neck. It's going to spread out over your shoulders and then kind of curve around in the front, like the front of a shawl, and the back will be straight. So I got through all the ribbing part, which is of course not very exciting. But the good news is that I tend to like the wrong side of my 1x1 ribbing better. But when I flip it over, which is how I would intend to wear it, you're gonna see the wrong side. So that part worked out well. And now I have started some basic patterning. It is just a mock rib, which is easy to keep track of, easy to knit, easy to increase into. So on the side is where the increases are happening, kind of along along a faux shoulder seam. So these two knit stitches are the kind of that faux seam, and we're increasing on either side. So you're going to get those seams running sort of right on your shoulders, and then when you hit that point where your little shoulder bone is, we're going to start some shaping for the front and the back. And, you know, it doesn't have armholes, it doesn't have sleeves. It is literally just something around your neck, and then kind of a little peak in the front like a shawl, and then a second piece in the back just so it can hold under your coat, which is really the idea I had for this. I was hoping to get it done, you know, more when we were still having cold weather, which we still are here, but it's not going to last, you know, super much longer. So we'll see. I don't know if I have enough yarn. I originally bought 3 balls of this yarn, and so I'm almost through the first ball. But then I stole one of the balls to work on my crochet blanket. So I may need to order another one. This is not the same color. This is the same yarn though. So it's the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. This color is, I believe, Dusty Petroleum Blue. Yeah, here we are. The yarn is kind of organized. It's organized in theory, but sometimes things get shifted around. So yeah, I originally had 3. I may need to get more. Where did I get this? I got this at, I don't know if I ordered this from Fiberspace or if I ordered it somewhere else online. I know Fiberspace carries this yarn, so if I need more, you know, it should be relatively easy to get more. It is Dusty Petroleum Blue. So this is a 100% merino. It is not super wash, so it's soft, but it's not super soft. It has a little bit of a rustic feel. And it is on the lighter side of a worsted, so it's 137 yards, 50 grams. Worsteds usually come in a little closer to 110 yards. So I did the collar on a US 6 and the body on a US 7. I have not taken the notes that I should have, because I keep telling myself it's relatively straightforward. So if and when I want to write a pattern, it should be easy, but I really should, because I know, for example, I didn't even do any gauge when I cast on. I was just like, this seems like enough to go around my neck. And then after that, I increased like 20% before starting the mock cable pattern. But I don't have any actual numbers. I really should have written this down. Maybe I'll take some notes after I'm done here today. But I'm really happy with how this is working up. It is definitely going to be really nice and warm. The fabric is really nice. Like I said, it is soft, but not super soft. This is not a superwash wool. So, you know, it's giving a little bit more, it's got a little bit more structure than a superwash wool is. I'm not super worried that it's going to grow out of shape when it's blocked or anything like that. I am mostly worried at this point that I have to go buy more yarn. What a terrible tragedy that would be. I sure hate to do that. So like I said, the pattern is really straightforward at this point. Cast on for the neck, knit and ribbing forever. I did use an alternating cable cast on, which I really like for 1x1 rib. It looks really nice and neat, and it's flexible, but still has some structure. And then to get these sort of faux seam lines, you're increasing every round. But since it's a really straightforward stitch pattern, you can just kind of look at your stitches. This is another problem because I should have taken notes, because I'm like just looking at my stitches and then saying, okay, I gotta increase purl-wise this time. Oh, this round I gotta increase knit-wise to maintain the pattern. That's something that I, you know, if and when I write a pattern, has to actually be in there. I can't just be like, hey guys, look at your stuff and figure it out. So I have been working on that. It is coming along. We'll see what happens to it, if it sees the light of day in this cold season, or we'll have to wait again for the fall. So that is the design kind of stuff I am working on. Again, Casera Tee is now available directly from me, and links are in the description box down below. I do have a little bit of yarn that has made its way into my stash to show you. So I believe I mentioned earlier this year, I'm partnering again with Hobby Yarns to promote some of their yarns and give them a try, which is mostly happening over on Instagram, not here. I'm just taking the chance to tell you about it. And I applied to participate in 2 of their campaigns that launched at the beginning of this year. One of them was a campaign to try out a new upcycled alpaca yarn that they had, and they sent it to me, and I got a notification that said out for delivery. Never got anything. And then when I went back to the USPS website to see what happened, it said, you know, your package is en route. And I was like, well, you already said it was out for delivery. Why is it en route? And then ultimately it came back with, your package has been delivered to some address in New York. No idea what happened. Why on earth they had it close enough to me that they told me it was out for delivery, yet never delivered it, and then took it and sent it somewhere in New York? Not a clue. So I followed up with them with their missing package, whatever. Of course I got nowhere, because they think that the package was delivered, and maybe it was. It just wasn't delivered to the right person. It wasn't delivered to my address. It was delivered to Saratoga Springs or something like that in New York. I don't know if that's upstate New York. I don't know where that is. So I never got that yarn, and that was a bummer. But this time I did get the yarn that I requested delivered to my address, and not some random stranger in New York. Like, if you got a package of yarn that you didn't order, like, wouldn't you return it? How did they just happen to misdeliver it to somebody else who knits or crochets? I don't know. Anyway, so this is for another campaign of theirs that is going to be seeing more action in the fall, but I'm getting started with it now. And these are 2 yarns I got to use together in a kind of cozy house sock. So a little heavier than a traditional sock and a little looser fitting, not more like a house kind of sock slipper combo deal. So the yarns I've got are their Friends Extra Fine Merino, which is a superwash merino, just as 100% wool, presumably merino. And it is 50 grams, 180 yards. So that's a little heavier than a fingering weight-ish. It's a little closer to a sport weight. And to go with that, this is their Kid Silk, which is 72% mohair, 25% silk, 3% wool, which is a different, you know, most things are like a 70-30 kid mohair silk. So I'm not sure why they've got that little bit of extra wool in there, but we'll find out. And this one is, I don't have a color name on here. It just says color 58, but this one was called like nougat or something like that. And this one was called like mauve or dusty mauve or something. So I think they're gonna work really nicely together to create an extra cozy house slipper sock deal for the fall. So what I'm planning to do with this is use it to recreate the socks that I have been working on for my sister, kind of reimagine them in a slightly heavier gauge and a little bit of a different shape, where again they're more less close fitting, a little bit of a looser fit, maybe a little slouchy, but featuring the same stitch patterns that I've been working on for that. So that is not going to really go anywhere until the fall, but I do already have the yarn to get started, and I'm happy to report that it, got delivered to the correct place. So I have used some of their yarns before and have been really happy with them in terms of, these are not fancy hand-dyed, indie-dyed yarns. These are definitely a more budget-friendly, economical yarn, so I don't necessarily expect them to be the same, the same quality as if I were buying similar yarns from, Magpie Fibers or, La Bien-Aimée. Pricing often reflects the quality, but I have been happy with the quality of the yarns that I've tried so far, and I am looking forward to trying these as well. So you probably won't be seeing them anytime in the near future, but maybe when the summer comes around and I start working on this project, you'll be getting peeks at them again. As I said, most of my sewing time and time in general has, in the last few weeks, I have been focused on that failure of a flapper dress, but I have been doing a little bit of sewing. I'm getting close to the end on this project, so I thought I would show you. I really should have just sewed up the sides before I did this. Right, these are my, there we go. So these are my Mitchell trousers. This is a pattern from Closet Core that I am doing in a stretch twill. The pattern does not call for a stretch fabric, but I wanted it to be a little bit closer fitting because it's a wide-legged trouser, but I wanted it to be a little bit closer fitting in sort of the hips and butt area than it was shown in the pattern. So I am using fabric with a little bit of stretch, and I am getting close to being done. So I need to sew up the side seams, attach the waistband, hem the bottom, and that's it. So I've done the most major stuff. I put in the welt pockets, which I think I showed you guys before. My first welt pockets. Ta-da! And I think since the last time I showed you, I put in, I've got it pinned for my own personal sake, but I put in the zipper. So this is the first time I put in a zipper fly. I put in, other zippers, mostly invisible zippers on dresses and skirts. This is the first time I've done a zipper fly. It was somewhat easier than doing an invisible zipper, but some parts of it were also a little bit more challenging. Like the actual zipper part was easier, but some of the instructions were a little unclear, and then you had to top stitch around the zipper and catch all the stuff underneath, and it was, there's a fly shield, and there's kind of a lot going on. But the actual zipper itself, it's mostly hidden, so if it's like crooked or, it's not a big deal. Not like on a dress where you're trying to get your invisible zipper to be invisible. So yeah, I'm getting close to the end on these, which is good because I'm ready to move on to some more like spring kind of garments. But there's been a lot going on here. I kind of think this is a nice lead up to maybe trying my first jeans, just because there are so many kind of different moving parts with this that mostly have gone okay. I definitely had to, pick some things out and re-sew some things here and there, but overall, it has gone well. The sheer amount of fabric, because they're like not only legs but wide legs, that part has been somewhat annoying, but especially, getting the first try at the zipper fly and not making too many mistakes there. There was a part that I guess you stitch up the center front, you baste it, then you do all the zippery stuff, and then you undo the basting stitches so that you have an opening. But one part of putting, ow, son of a bitch, one part of putting in the top stitching here was not unclear. And I top stitched through too many layers of what's going on underneath, and I had to undo that and then redo it so that I actually had an opening when the basting came out. So, and I even, I went on YouTube and she was like, push everything to the left, the fly shield and the, what's it called? The fly extension and the fly shield, and then top stitch. I don't know if she just misspoke or what, but it was really only like part of stuff that was supposed to be pressed over to the left so that you were sewing through it, and the other part was not. So PSA, if you are making tutorials for things and you misspeak, correct yourself. So this is my current sewing project, which I'm hoping will be finished up by this weekend, maybe by the time you are watching this. And then I would like to start thinking about some springy stuff. I'm not sure what. I've got tons of patterns and I've got plenty of fabric. So maybe sort of like a floaty blouse or maybe a dress for Easter is coming up. We'll see, but definitely no more flapper dresses. But I will be slowly and steadily adding to my sewing wardrobe as the seasons change. All right, guys, that's all I have to talk about today. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the podcast. Before I forget, because people always ask, this is my Bresson pullover. This is a pattern by Alma Bali, which I knit in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. It is a pattern that she published with Brooklyn Tweed, so I will include a link to that in the description box down below as well. Hopefully next time I will have even more finished objects to show you. So thank you again for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope that you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. New knitting, mostly related videos every Saturday. If you're looking for a way to support the channel so I can keep producing more content, click the join button below and see what that's all about. That is also greatly appreciated. If you are looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Amelia Peruana, and I will see you next time. Bye.